Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today I am here to tell you about my thoughts after reading Timon of Athens. Now this is particularly exciting because Timon of Athens was the last play in my massive Shakespeare anthology that I had to read of Shakespeare's, at that point, acknowledged 38 plays. So I did it, I hit my mark for the year, I finished reading Shakespeare. Unless, of course, you've seen my latest book haul where I discovered that Edward III now counts as a Shakespeare play. So I still have that one to go in January. But I met the mark that I set for myself at the beginning of the year. So I'm quite pleased about that. Timon of Athens, I think, falls into the tragedy category. Although honestly, it's kind of hard to tell. Timon of Athens was co-written with Thomas Middleton and takes place in the ancient Greek city of Athens. Although strangely, all of the customs that they describe are very much Western European of the late Renaissance, early Elizabethan era. So yes, well, we all know Shakespeare wasn't one for historical accuracy. Timon is a great lord. He is a very rich man and also an extremely generous man. Everyone comes to him for one thing or another, whether it be help with their finances, help trying to resolve marital issues, mainly who their daughters should marry rather than their own marriages. Artists come to him hoping for patronage, and he is extremely generous and gives everyone any help that they can, particularly financial help. He is also prone to giving very lavish feasts and masks and inviting everyone he knows to come and enjoy. It seems quite lovely, except for one of his friends. His friend Apemantus is supposedly a philosopher, but mostly his job within the play seems to be a professional cynic. Apemantus hates everyone in the world. He is fed up with everything that he sees. He can only see the negative side of things. However, he sees something coming that we as the audience don't, at least for the first act or two. And that is that Timon's generosity is not sustainable. Not only does Apemantus feel that everyone who comes to Timon for advice or help is really only after him for his money and that they don't really care about him as a person. But in addition, Timon's funds are running out, and he apparently has no idea. And when people approach him wanting to be paid, he doesn't want to deal with it. And thus, it eventually catches up with him. All of his debts are called in, and he has no way to pay them. So he starts going to his friends to ask for their help. But they don't want to know him. They have, as Apemantus predicted, turned their backs on him because he no longer has the money to help them in return. This thus sends Timon into a downward spiral, and he eventually ends up living naked in a cave on the outskirts of Athens, where he eventually dies. And that is the end of the play. Now, it is certainly a very interesting plot from a philosophical perspective, but I feel like Shakespeare could have done more with it. Especially with Timon himself. I feel like we never really got to know Timon as a character, and his only really huge moments were his mad soliloquies, which how true a picture does that really paint for us? Well, that's a question to get into with Shakespeare. If you're writing an essay on Timon of Athens, maybe look at that question. However, due to everything going on, I felt as though we never really got enough background into any of the characters, nor what was this plot leading towards. Is it purely philosophical? It seemed like there were hints of war brewing towards the end, but we never really picked up those threads sufficiently for my liking anyway. So maybe it's one of those things where if you were more familiar with ancient Greek history, you could see where it was leading. But as I am less familiar with that, I could not see where it was leading. However, I did feel as though it was a very timeless message in that people still behave that way. There are many false friends who are still out there in the world who will only befriend people because of what they can do for them, be it financially or in terms of social position or influence or advice, rather than really caring about them as people. So that, I think, remained really timeless, and I wish we had focused more on that rather than trying to move along some sort of plot. Although now that I think about it, there wasn't much of a plot. There were some small events, but there wasn't a whole lot to go on. So I can't really say it was plot-driven or character-driven. So that is why I also have no screen version to compare it to, because I couldn't see that there would have been a lot for the actors to work with. And given that this is a highly underrated play, there aren't that many versions for me to choose from. And honestly, based on reading it, I can't say I'm that interested in watching it either. If this happens to be one of your favorites, however, please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear why it is your favorite, and that might force me to go back and revisit it. Until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye everyone.